Florida Governor Charlie Crist suggests Mr. Obama could be a one-term president like Jimmy Carter.
I think the people wanted to change. I think it was that simple. They wanted to change back in 1976. You remember? Richard Nixon had been president. That ended. Gerald Ford took over. The people decided they wanted to change. They got one. Jimmy Carter. 4 years later, they took care of business. Ronald Reagan. It may happen again.
All right, we're going to bring back our senior political correspondent, Candy Crowley, our senior political analyst, David Gergen, and also joining us now, we have CNN contributor and Democratic strategist, Paul Begala, and Fortune magazine columnist and conservative humorist, Ben Stein. Ben, I want to start off with you. Do you think President Clinton is right?
Well, he said a great many things. I'm not sure what you're referring to about whether he's right. There's certainly no vast
Let's start with that one.
There's no vast right-wing conspiracy. There was no vast right-wing conspiracy when Hillary Clinton said there was a long time ago. There's no vast right-wing conspiracy now. Unfortunately, there's no vast right-wing. There's certainly, if there is a right-wing, it's not really clever enough to have a conspiracy. The problem is that Mr. Obama is bringing up a lot of issues that upset people and that set in motion forces of opposition, such as the health care, such as the enormous budget deficits. That's not a conspiracy to oppose that. That's free speech. The idea of calling any kind of opposition to the president a conspiracy is it's kind of silly. I mean, it's kind of childish.
And Paul, you know, Governor Crist says, hey, this is a one-term president. I mean, you know, it's 8 months in.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Charlie Crist is going to replace Candy Crowley as a senior political reporter for this network. But you got to cut him some slack. I mean, he's a politician. He's running for the Senate. What's he supposed to say? Gee, Obama's unbeatable. We can't take him on. So I mean, that's well within the accepted bounds of political hyperbole. Come on, give him a break. But let me pick up on Ben's point. Our CNN colleague Jeff Toobin wrote a book about those years called A Vast Conspiracy. Obviously, there was a concerted effort by the moneyed interest in the far right to try to undermine President Clinton, as there is under President Obama. But I think President Clinton is right. It's less now. We have a different country. So it's, I think, a more progressive country. So maybe it's a half-vast right-wing conspiracy. I say that very carefully, Ben, so I don't get in trouble with the censors.
David, you and I were around when President Clinton and the whole Monica Lewinsky scandal, the investigation, and that's when we heard President Clinton talk about this the right-wing conspiracy. What's different now between the President Clinton era and President Obama?
Yeah, well, Suzanne, I think it was Hillary Clinton who actually invented the phrase.
Yes.
You know, there are people on the left who believe it. Whether you call it, whatever you call it, there's certainly a conservative chorus out there that is as tough on President Obama as it was on Bill Clinton. And it made a difference in the '94 elections. It helped the Republicans regain the House and the Senate. And clearly now the drumbeat against the president over the last few months, particularly this summer, was successful in bringing down his numbers and driving up the Republican prospects. That said, it's hard for me to see. There are a few people like Michael Barone who believe the Republicans can take over the House next year. I don't see those numbers right now. I do think it's a good chance the Republicans will pick up significant seats, but I don't think they'll get very far in the Senate. So in '94, the Republicans took over the House and Senate. I don't see either of those in prospect. Maybe one of the other panelists does.
Well, Candy, I want to talk about, Governor Crist. It was not long ago when he was with President Obama. I think we have a picture of the two of them together. He was helping push forward that economic stimulus package, which was so controversial. What do you think has happened now that we're hearing this kind of language?
I think Governor Crist got his money, and he's happy to have it, and he's happy to be spending it in Florida. He is not, I mean, he does have a primary challenge, and that's one of the things that his primary opponent is keying on. He was a more conservative Republican talking about that stimulus money. But, I mean, we all believe, whether or not any of us have been inside his head, that Governor Crist has national aspirations, and he's a Republican. That's what Republicans say, and you take the money. I mean, the federal government's going to send you money, you say, I'll take it.
What do you think, Ben, about the Governor Crist's aspirations?
I have to say, I feel embarrassed that you called me the humorist. I think for Paul to say that because Mr. Toobin wrote a book about something that makes it true, that's the real joke. I mean, Mr. Toobin is a fine writer. He's a superb writer, and he's a fine lawyer. He's a very smart guy. But I mean, there are a million different people writing books on a million different subjects. The fact that a person writes a book on something doesn't make it true. Look, the Republicans have found rich red meat in the health care program. People are terrified of Mr. Obama coming between them and their doctor. They found rich red meat in the stimulus package. A lot of very smart people say it didn't work, and it was just a boondoggle for Democratic special interest groups. There's rich red meat in the huge budget deficits. There's rich red meat in the proposed tax increases. Mr. Obama is putting a lot of red meat on the table. That's the story.
All right, we're going to have much more of this on the other side of the break, so just hang with us, hang tight, because it's getting a little hot here.